Welcome back to Estancia Cristina in Santa Cruz, Argentina. Today is still Monday, April the 27th, 2026. It's Howard Palsh with Julieta. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So you'll be talking about the museum.
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. Before we arrive to this place, before the master family arrives, we have some people that arrived before the family to this area. Okay. The most important of them was Francisco Pascasio Moreno. He arrived in 1877, and he gave the name of Lago Argentino to this big lake. It's the biggest lake that we have in this country, and our country, in honor to him, put the name to the glacier Perito Moreno. Okay, what is a perito? Because Perito wasn't his name. Perito is someone you call because he's an expert in something, and he was an expert in borders and in the Patagonia. So for that he was called Perito, and Francisco Pascasio Moreno was his name. Okay, he arrived to this area and looked around the Argentino lake, and with his maps and his photos and notes, arrives another explorer to this area called Hesker Pritchard. Hesker Pritchard was an Englishman that arrived to this area looking for a mythical creature called El Milodon. Okay, because people in that time, everyone was crazy looking for this creature that used to live at the Patagonia, but we didn't have many recorders of this. He was sent by his boss of name Pearson because they were work in a newspaper called Daily Express, and he worked for this newspaper. He arrived to the Argentina lake using the notes and the maps that Francisco Moreno made, and he go around to all the Argentina lake, pass through Devil's Gate or Devil's Mouth, as we say here, that is the narrowest part of the Argentina lake. Why has this name, the Devil's Gate or Devil's Mouth? Because today we arrive in the Chinook catamaran, that is a big boat. Okay, but people in that time, they didn't have big boats. Okay, so this area was really dangerous for them. Usually sunk. Okay, so for that it has this name. They passed through over here and he arrived to this area. Okay, he sailed and started to look around this place. He never found the Milodon in this area, and at the end of the valley he found a lake that you already saw when you did the 4x4, and it's called Pearson. Why Pearson? Because his boss name was Pearson. So in his honor, because he paid for all this trip, all this expedition, he put this name to the lake. But the river you saw at the beginning, it's called Caterina, and Caterina was his mother name, so in honor to his mom. He also saw the Uppsala Glacier, but he called it by a different name, called it the Giant's Glacier, because the glacier by that time was huge in compare with the Uppsala right now. But he never left a note behind. He never informed this to no one, so this name get lost. Okay, with the years, Percy Quenzel arrived to this area to study the Patagonic ice field with members of the University of Uppsala in Sweden. So for that, this glacier has this name because the university. Okay, because they started to come here and rediscover this glacier. With the years, we could find some notes of Pritchard calling this glacier of the Giant's Glacier, but they already named this glacier as Uppsala. Right now, if you say Uppsala or Giant's Glacier, it's the same. Both are okay, but by that time, the only one was Uppsala. Knowing where are we right now, we can go to see how the master, the pioneer of these lands, arrived to Estancia. Okay. First of all, masters arrived to the Patagonia in the 900s, okay? But not at the Argentina Patagonia. He arrived to the Chilean side, working in Punta Arenas, okay, in a port. He was a sailor. Okay. He used to work with the boats, and Punta Arenas, it was a really important port because before we only had this port, okay. we haven't had the Panama Channel. So this was the most important place because the Magallanes place was the only place where the boats used to go from one ocean to another one. Okay, and all of them passed through for Punta Arenas. Okay, he used to work there for many years until he started to learn how to work with horses, with sheep and cows. Okay, and he heard a rumor, an interesting rumor, that in the Argentinian side, in the Patagonia, in the coast, some people found gold. Okay, he saw the business there and came back to his land. He was an Englishman because he had a girlfriend waiting for him in that place, Jessie Wilding by that time. He came back to England to tell everything to his girlfriend to look for the gold, and they were okay. They got married and then arrived to the Patagonia again, particularly to this area in Rio Gallegos. Okay, but they never found gold. They found pirate. Do you know what a pirate is used to be called? Foolish gold.
Oh, okay.
Because looks like gold, shine like gold, worth a penny. Okay, so they started to looking for jobs in other places, and he found it over here in Estancia El Cóndor, near Cabo Vírgenes, in this area. Okay, El Cóndor is one of the ancient estancias here at the Patagonia, and something really important happened here. The couple had two kids, Herbert in 1902 and Christina in 1904. Okay, and Percival in this estancia started to work with sheep, with cattle, more than anything, and he learned a new job called lioneer. Okay, what can be a lioneer in the Patagonia? I'm going to explain it later, but think about it. What is a lion at the Patagonia? Okay, but with the time, they decided that they wanted something for them, okay, something to left to their kids in the future. So they started a trip to the Argentina Lake Zone because they were told for some friends that in that area, many places were without an owner, okay. So they decided to travel to this area. And why? Because the government has a plan to bring more people, more population to the Patagonia. Okay, here we can see the distribution of the land. The Argentinian country had a plan in 1884, be careful there, to bring more population to the Patagonia. Because Argentina is a really large country, we have a lot of land from north to south, west and east. Okay, and usually when people came to Argentina, decided to go to the center of the country, better lands, better weather to work. And they decided to create this plan. Okay, we are going to provide 20,000 hectares to the families or to anyone that want to start to live and work here in the Patagonia. It's a deal for 30 years, and with the profit you make living and working in this land, you can pay the taxes. Okay, just for 30 years. For 20,000 hectares, I think it's really good. It's a good deal. Okay, and the families decided to work with sheep. Okay, here at the Patagonia, at the best moment, we used to have 74 million of sheep, because by that time we didn't have this kind of materials to create clothes. Okay, we usually only had cotton and wool. Okay, so for that the sheep were really important here at the Patagonia. The sheep used to be called the white gold. Okay, because the material was really expensive, and it left behind a really good profit. Okay, but how to bring that amount of sheep to the Patagonia? Okay, we have two ways of doing it: by boat from the Malvina Island. Okay, that this was going to be shorter because in a short period of time you will bring a lot of ships, but it has a big risk. If there is a storm, on sea, you can lose all your ships. Okay. Other way to do it from the north of the country, from Buenos Aires, by foot. Okay. You bring all your ships. It was going to take more time, more weeks, and you will receive almost for complete your group of ships. Okay, why almost? Because at the Patagonia we have some predators that we can find in this place, like we can see over here, pumas. Okay, the pumas and the foxes are the enemies of the estancias. Okay, why the enemies? A female puma can kill around 50 sheep per night, only to taught to the cubs how to hunt. Okay, so this was really bad for the owners of the sheep, and they started to hunt them. You can see the trunks here, and a new job was created. As I mentioned before, lion ears. Okay, why lion ears? The puma is also known as the lion of the Patagonia or the big lion of the Pampas. So for that, lion ears were the people that started to hunt them. And also we can see foxes here, okay? And wild foxes were also a big problem and enemies for the estancias. The foxes weren't not going to kill the sheep, okay? They were going to bite her, and with this bite, the sheep will start an infection and will die for this infection. So for that, it started to be a problem too. And we can see also the traps for these foxes. Fortunately, now in Argentina, inside of the national parks, all the reservation is not allowed to doing this. It's forbidden, and you can go to jail if you do it. Okay, and thanks to that policy, we can see that the puma is recovering territory, because we can see more pumas closer to the coast. They are hunting penguins. That is not too good for the penguins, but it's really good for the pumas. Yes, and we can see that the pumas and the foxes, they are having more cubs with them. Okay, we can see a female puma with 2 or even with 3 cubs, also with the foxes, because they feel safer and they can find more food because they feel safer. So thanks to the government that they forbid this practice. Okay, and I mentioned that the family had many sheep here. They have 12,000 sheep in this place, and they started with shearing. Okay, we can see here this group called La Comparsa that used to come every December to help them with the shearing. Okay, because the family wasn't too big. Okay, they were 5. For 2 kids and the parents, plus the brother of Jesse and carpenter that work with them. And having 12,000 sheep is a lot for this amount of people. So they receive this group every December to help them with the shearing. Okay. At the beginning, they started with these scissors over here, and took them around 25 to 30 minutes per sheep. Okay, a good worker will shear around 200 sheep in 8 hours. A lot. But with the time, the family acquires this machine over here that works with a motor and with diesel. Okay, and they started to work with this lister machine that is like a shaver. Okay, and this took even less time, from 3 to 5 minutes. Okay, really good. Every time they finish the shearing of a sheep, they put a rock inside the can, and at the end of the day, they receive a pay depending how many rocks they have. Okay, so it was a work they needed to do fast. For that, 20 minutes with scissors, 3 to 5 with the shaver. And here we can see a lot of gates in this place too, because they have a person in charge of them to check they do it fine, they don't hurt the sheep, because if the wool was with any sign of blood, this wool was going to have a lower price. So they have to be careful with that too. And another person looking over here. Okay, I'm looking that you are finished with your ship. I open here, because all the ships were in this place, and give you another one. Okay, and also they were checking that to not put an extra rock when you finish your ship. Okay, so he was the boss of them. And how to take all this wool away from this place. Okay, as today that we arrive in the Chinu, the family had a boat called the Caesar. Okay, this boat took them around 14 hours to arrive from the port to the estancia. Okay, now we had only 2 hours, 2 hours and a quarter, so that is a lot. And in a bad day, like rainy day, windy day, snowy, they had different places around the Argentina lake to stop, wait till the weather start to be better, and then go on. Okay, because this boat worked with a pipe and propeller, so they needed coke and wood to this boat can work. Okay, and a lot of time. This boat worked for the family for 50 years, and after that time, Percival Master exchanged it for 4 beautiful boats. It was a good deal too. And we have here what happened with the kids. Okay, what happened with Herbert and what happened with Cristina. Okay, Herbert in 1916. Only 2 years later that the family arrived to this place, because they started to work here in 1914 under the name of Estancia Masters. Herbert was sent to Buenos Aires, okay, to study in the San George College, because he knew how to take care of their animals, how to take care of their sheep, their cows, their horses, but the family needed to he started to learn more, okay, more about administration, finances, how to take this place to the future, okay, how to take care of this place in the future too. So he was sent to Buenos Aires to learn everything. With Cristina, the history with her is a little bit shorter and sad, because she remained here at Estancia. She helped the family not only with the home duties that she needed to learn for that time, she also helped with the taking care of the sheep, of the cows and the horses. She used to help, and she used to love to help in this place, but it was too cold, okay? And in one of these times that she's helped, she get pneumonia and sadly died of this at the age of 20 years. Because of this, the family decided to change the name from Estancia Masters to Estancia Cristina in honor to their daughter that passed away. What happened with Herbert by this time, okay? Herbert was in Buenos Aires and he received a letter from his family. Be careful there. Great. And he knows about what happened with his sister by letter, okay? And the family asked to coming back to the estancia because they needed to be in family for a sad time for that and like that, and the family needed help, okay? Cristina was really helpful here, and from one day to another, Cristina gone. He arrived, he decides to coming back and arrived to the estancia, but when he came, he arrived with a radio because he was in Buenos Aires, in a really big city like that, and imagine coming back here to chat with sheep. Not too funny, okay? So he decided to bring a radio with him because he was a radio fan, and install this to having energy for the radio. We can see here that was really good because he was connected with different people around the world. We can see some from Yugoslavia, from the Antarctica, okay, from Granada, okay. He was really connected with the world, and this was really important to having more letters and package, okay. What we can see here, it's a mail post that mailbox that was on the port in Puerto Punta Banderas, for that is in this in this mood. And they received not only letters and packages from their family and friends, something really important. They received, okay, the Popular Mechanic magazine. The family had a subscription to this magazine, and this magazine brings a lot of instructions that how to build different things. Not only the boat, okay, also the instructions how to build these sharing sheets, a water mill, and the Cristina boat you already saw when you were doing the 4x4, okay, because the family needed a boat, because they sold, they exchanged what they had, and as we saw today, the only way to coming here to the Estancia is by boat, okay, or flying, but we don't have an airport here, okay. If we look for the window, we also can see the Cristina boat from here, over there, or from here. Okay. And I mentioned that the family had this deal with the government for being owner of these lands after 30 years paying taxes, okay? But this in 1937 changed with the creation of the National Park Los Glaciares, because the National Park and the government told them, we're sorry, but you are not going to be owner of these lands, because now belongs to all the Argentinian people. So we can't give you these lands. And we have to change your deal for an occupation permit, okay? What this occupation permit says, that you can stay in these lands, but you will not be the owner, okay? You can do the administration, but not the owner. And all your descendants, all your kids, all your grandkids, or in the future can stay in this land until the last member of the family pass away, okay? Or they decide to leave this place. Also, the government told them they couldn't have more cattle. So they started to sell the sheep they have, or give it to their workers in like pay, okay? But a different thing is with the cows. Have you seen the cows on the road? Okay, that is a proof of what this family and other families around the Argentina lake did, okay? Because they set free all these cows, and because they thought, okay, they are not going to survive because they are used to us, but they did, and now are the 9th or the 8th generation of wild cows. I love to say they are the happy cows. They survive against everything, against the weather and and they started to prove the evolution, okay? Because they have longer legs, an extra fur, extra lion fur, and they are bigger than an usual calf, more than 600 kilos, really big. Okay, and I mentioned that the family could stay in this place until the last member of the family passed away. But by this time, there were only 3 members of the family, okay? Herbert and his parents, Janet and Percival. But they were bigger by this time, they were ancients, and they needed more help. And with this arrived Janet Hermingston to Estancia Cristina in 1966. She was a Scottish woman that used to live at the Tierra del Fuego island. So she knew the culture, she knew the language of this family, and also she understand how the Patagonia works, okay, by the weather, by how to take care of this place. And with the time, she started not only working for this family, she starts a friendship with them. We can see here the family having supper with Janet on the table. With the years, she starts a really good friendship with Herbert and starts to helping him with the administration of the estancia. We have here a little view of what you saw this morning, the Institute of Ice that was created in 1953 by Mario Bertone, okay? And he was a hiker, a mountaineer, that he wanted to come to the Patagonia and specific to the ice field to study and to climb it. Okay, he had some friends that they were scientists that wanted to come to these glaciers to study what was happening with it, and they asked for help to the government, and the government helped them because the government has was a particular interest in this glacier because they wanted to land the Antarctica. Okay, but first they needed to do some proof. Okay, how to land in the Antarctica if before you didn't practice. Okay, and they noticed that the Uppsala Glacier had the same conditions or similar conditions to the Antarctica to do this practice. This was in charge of Mario Lesa and was called Uppsala Operation or Uppsala Expedition, and they worked together, Mario Bertone and Mario Lesa, to make all this possible. Also with the help of the master family for doing the 4x4 path that you did this morning that took them 400 men doing it with dynamite and pigs. For that it's so bumpy. And here we have a view of the Cristina. Okay. What happened with the Cristina boat? Okay. The Cristina boat was built by the family in the 50s. They started with this before to sell the other boat, and they finished it 2 years later that they sold the other boat. Took them 10 years. It takes around 10 years to be built, and they decided they was not going to be again using wood and coke. Okay, they decided to have a motor with it. So they asked for a motor that we can see over there to work with this boat. With this boat, they reduced a lot of time for the sailing from 14 hours to 4 hours, okay, 10 hours less, and was a bigger boat, so they could take more things with them and bring more things also from the town. It wasn't necessary to go like 15 days or 10 days to the town. It can be. They can wait more time. And we can see here some of the instructions they use for doing this boat that belongs to the popular mechanic. But something happened with this boat, but something happy and funny at the same time. When they started to building this boat, and were waiting for the motor, they forgot to take in mind the weight of the motor for the construction. When they finished the boat, put the motor in it, and started to sail, the boat did this. For the weight of the motor. They fixed it, putting a lot of rocks from the other side, and like this, the Cristina boat sailed the Argentina lake for 20 years. So it was a good boat. It took them a lot of time, but it was a good boat. With this boat, they bring a lot of climbers over here to the Estancia too. We have the more important of them here, Pedro Esbarca and Jorge Esbarca, the brothers, that they arrived in the 60s to the Patagonia, because by that time, the Fitzroy and Torres del Paine were really famous. Even now, they are really famous to go to hike and to see the beautiful landscapes that we can see from there. But these climbers, these mountaineers, wanted something different, okay? Because the most important thing when you go to hike is being the first and go to the peak, okay? And the Svarka brothers were the first one and go to the peak of the North Mountain, okay? That mountain up there is the highest mountain that we have here in this valley. The peak is around 2,700 meters of height, so it's really, really high. Imagine go to climb with this window being outside. They tried to do it for many seasons, more than 5 years until they did it, okay? By this time, they made a really good friendship with the family. They used the estancia as like a base camp, and they go to try to climb. And sometimes they came back, and others took them more time to come back here until they did it. Okay. Other one of the climbers that they received here, it was Eric Shipton. He was the first one in walking through the ice field from north to south, using the different shelters that the government with Mario Lesa and Mario Bertone built, okay, around all the ice field. And then we have Casimiro Ferrari. He was an Italian man that he was in an expedition with a group of other mountaineers to came to walk in the Patagonian ice field, and also they went to the peak to the Morachon mountain too. They were the first one. So the Estancia received different hikers at this time. And here we can see the last years of the family. Okay? Why we say always that the Barca brothers had a really good friendship with this family? We can see here a picture of Janet with the wife of Pedro Esbarca. So they were really good friends. They used to come here. Really, it was common to come here for them. Okay, and what happened? Okay, Herbert, at the age of 80, he noticed that he was the last member of the family because his father passed away at the age of 101 years old, and his mother at the age of 95. They were really old when they died, and Herbert noticed that he was the last member, okay, and he never had kids. And with the years, with Janet, they started a really good friendship, and they were in love, but they never got married. And here, to prove his love to her, got married with her. So if something happened to him, she could stay in this place to the last days. And sadly, this happened just 5 years later. At the age of 84, Herbert passed away. He had a lung disease and he died, leaving Janet like as the last member and the last member of the family. Okay, he was the last heir. So she stayed with this place to doing the administration. And she, by that time, she was receiving a lot of these climbers and a lot of people that wanted to walk around the Uppsala or going to hike, or where they were coming walking from El Chaltén. And she received them, and these brothers let her know, why you don't change your occupation permit for a touristic permit, so you can receive more and more people. She changed this, and she transformed the big house, the principal house, in a little hostel, so she could receive more people to stay in this place. With the years, she creates with these climbers and different investors a society called Estancia Cristina, an anonymous society, so they could receive more and more people like us today that we came to this beautiful estancia to visit it. Okay? So they create this society. They work for many years with this, and in 1997, at the age of 93, Janet passed away. Okay, what happened with these lands? Because he was the administration of these lands. All these lands came back to the administration of the national park. Okay, but this society, the Estancia Cristina society, was already created, and these members asked to the national park a permission to still working with this place. But the national park says, okay, it's not going to be a permission forever, it's going to be a concession. We're going to give you this concession from 3 to 5 years, and in that time we are going to be checking that you follow the rules that we are going to give you. Like the main rule to no create garbage, okay? No throw garbage anywhere. Making compost, no, we do compost here, and leave this place like you found it, okay? No leave trace behind. It's for that we always ask to please follow the path, don't throw garbage, and thankful, I think we are doing a really good job, because this concession was given in the 2000s, and we are 2026. So more than 25 years working with this concession and with the national park all together to making this place beautiful and to everyone can come and to enjoy and to look around these places, enjoy this beautiful place. So we have to be thankful to Herbert and to Janet mainly, but also to the National Park and to the Estancia Cristina Society to let us enjoy this beautiful place. Here, we have some of the materials that the hikers left behind. We can see some of them are pretty similar of what we see or what we have right now, like these crampons over here. But these ones, these roses here, are really different. Okay, we're not going to the mountain with this now. Okay, so these are some of the materials that the hiker left behind. And this is a little bit of the history of Estancia Cristina. Thank you.
That was a fantastic tour of this wonderful museum at Estancia Cristina. Julieta, I want to thank you so much for the detailed explanation.
Thanks to you.
Yes, and I hope more people will come and visit, right?
Of course.
They will.
We are going to be waiting for you every day.
Thank you so much and have a great day. Come visit. Bye-bye.